Hello again, everybody. This is Ryan from Ryan's Guitar Shop. I'm updating this video that I have of how to use the Guitar Tuna app for tuning the guitar. They've made some updates to the app. It looks different than my previous video, and I've got way better options for recording audio and voiceover. So I wanted to redo this so that we have kind of an updated version. So today we're talking about the Guitar Tuna app. There are many free apps on the App Store. I truthfully hasn't looked for any new ones in a while because the Guitar Tuna app is doing very well. And I teach and show kids how to use this one because I think it is a really good one for beginners. So on my screen here, it's right next to the Songster app with the little yellow-green guitar pick. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. Now this is one of the new changes they have. You can still use it free. This window does not pop up every single time, but about every 4 or 5 times you use this, or if it's been a while since you've used it, it does open up to this screen here. It's a minor inconvenience, I'll say, again, for something that's free. But, well, as we all know, free apps have all these types of ads and limitations anyway, so you can just scroll to the right, and then in the top left, there's an X, and you can just exit out of that, and then we get to here. Alright, so this again has gone through some changes since my last video that I did this a couple years ago. So the first thing we want to do when we set this up is in the top left, right under the name. We definitely want to make sure that we are set up for a standard guitar. So we have the guitar, and then you can see my green line there saying first the 6-string standard tuning. The other day, actually, one of my students was having trouble with doing it. We found out she had it for the left hand. So make sure that it's not set for left hand or anything like that. And then I tell the kids if they've got an electric guitar at home, you can see you can select 6 and 1. We have the 3 and 3, like the classical guitar at school. So this is the best for them in school or depending on what they have at home. So you want to make sure you kind of look at the settings. I don't know if the girl had automatically changed it to left hand settings or if accidentally or if that's the way it was, but make sure that you've got that guitar 6-string and standard tuning. And then the top right here, you can see there's the toggle button for the auto. You definitely want the auto button on. It's very easy to have a hard time tuning if that button is not selected. Now again, the nice thing I really like about this is you can see the head of the guitar, and again, it's listening to my voice right now, trying to pick out notes as I'm talking here. But you can see that those pegs are highlighting, and it's a really great reference for kids as they are tuning because they can see exactly which tuner to tune or to turn, and then hopefully match up the string that they're trying to do. With the clip-on style tuners, while they do pretty much the same thing that this is going to do, you obviously don't have that reference there, so this is great for beginners, very first learning how to tune, so that they can, again, have a visual reference for seeing it. So once we've got everything set up, all we have to do is grab our guitar, which I'm going to do right now, and then we just play a string. Now traditionally we start on the first string, and when you play these you want to play them all as open. There's no left hand required or needed. In fact, that's going to mess everything up if you use the left hand, so make sure that you're using the string or playing it as open. And so we go ahead and play, in this case, let's play the first string open and see what we have. Okay, so right there, I haven't picked up this guitar in a couple days, so I was kind of surprised that it's dead on, but you saw that it highlighted the E on the bottom right. That is my first string, and then it was in tune. You saw the little bubble line up in the middle. So I'm perfectly in tune for that string. And then you can see from now on the bottom right that that's circled in green just to remind you that you've tuned that string and you don't need to do any of the others. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the second string really quick. Okay, so it's still it's slightly above, as you can see. But in most purposes, that's going to be pretty close. If I want to adjust it, if the bubble's to the right of the main line, then I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. Oh, a little too far. And then you can usually just play it a couple times, let it ring out, and if it sticks, then you're in pretty good shape. All right, just for practice, let's go ahead and take a look at the third string. Okay, and I would probably just leave that there. I don't necessarily, unless I'm really recording and I really want a perfectly good sound, as long as I've got that green check mark, it's pretty good shape. Okay, so that's an imagining that your strings are pretty much in tune. You check it, you're good. Let's go ahead and change the first string. Let's make it a little bit different. I'm tuning the peg just a little bit. Now let's see what it says here. So I know this is going to be out of tune. Okay, so now we can see that's definitely high. And you can see right next to the bubble it does say tune down, so I turn the tuner the appropriate way. And the nice thing also I like about this is you can play the string with your right hand and your left hand turn the tuner at the same time. You can kind of watch it progress. It's a good way to monitor so you're not going back and forth and back and forth. All right, so that was a little high. So I'm definitely going to turn this one a little bit low just so you can see what it looks like. Low. Okay, we're extra low. So I play, I'm going to stop talking, and I'm turning the tuner at the same time. And stop right there. Okay. All right, so that's the basics. And again, obviously you can do all the strings from there as well. I'm just the same thing here, just making it quick on the first three. Now, here's one of the disadvantages of using a tuner is this. Say the string is really, really out of tune. Okay, so I'm going to turn the tuner a good 2 or 3 full turns. So this is going to be really out of tune. Here's one of the disadvantages of the tuner. I'll show you. Okay, so as soon as I play that, notice that the B peg, or the second string, is being highlighted. I'm actually playing the first string though. So here's one of the things: the tuner cannot tell specifically what string I am playing. All it can do is listen to my string or listen to my note and decipher using its computer to decide what's the closest pitch that it hears. In this case, it hears a B note. So a lot of kids will just say, okay, there's the B note. It's really high, so what they'll do is they'll turn this down. And they'll be like, okay, cool. All right, there's my in tune string. But if they're not paying attention, it's tuned now the second string. So now I have the first string and the second string pretty much the same note. Now again, to the tuner and to the novice, you might look at that and say, oh, everything's good. You go to play, however, and I get kind of a weird sound. My G chord no longer works anymore. There's my D chord. That makes it even worse. Okay, so one thing you have to be very careful of is you have to look at what tuner the tuner is telling you, what letter or what string it's trying to tell you versus what string you're actually playing. So in this case, I need to bring it way up. And as soon as I kind of reach a certain threshold, it's like, oh, wait a minute, are you turning? Now you're trying to tune the first string because I got closer to that note. I'm just kind of being careful, a little bit at a time. And there we go. So that's one of the major drawbacks of a tuner. You do have to be very careful about reading the note that you need. Make sure that the note that's highlighting is the note that you need for your string. And so once you do that, though, you're okay. It takes a little bit more effort too. You have to decide, is it too high or too low from there, but it usually you can find little charts online and things like that that will help do that to keep track of which string should be tuned to which one. So the last thing I want to just talk about really quickly is tuning itself. There's always the fear, or there's always the possibility of a string breaking. Even if you're tuning it low, high, when the string is done, it just is done. And so there is always kind of a complication that it could break at any time. Even if you're doing everything 100% correct, you just have to be cautious and kind of aware. But again, tuning it too high is obviously more dangerous than anything, but just be aware that anytime you tune, there is a slight possibility that that string will break. And even if you're doing everything correct, I've broken many strings when just adding a little bit of pressure. I've even broken strings when I've lowered the strings. It's just the change in tension on those. If the string is worn out and old, it could just break at any time. So just kind of be aware of that, but be extra careful, especially when tuning it high, so that we don't add extra tension that you do not need from there. And just to sum up again, all of these techniques would work if you have one of the new clip-on tuners. All of the same thing would work. The only disadvantage again is all you're going to see is it pop up a letter, and it will kind of give you an indication with lights if it's high or low. But again, once you got this down with the app, then I think those clip-on tuners work just as well and just as effectively. And so I hope this has helped you, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.